Welcome to the Let's Talk Kids Health live show, episode 76. I'm Dr. Narissa Bauer, your host. I'm a behavioral pediatrician and CEO of Let's Talk Kids Health. As you know, the concept of this show is to share information about behavioral health, parenting, and family wellness. Each week, I bring you topics and guests to help me advance this mission so that we can all talk together. Now, this episode was pre-recorded, but let us know that you're here by commenting and still asking questions and using hashtag replay or premiere. And my team will be making sure to look out for any questions left during the broadcast. And make sure you know that if you're watching and you're like, oh no, so and so should watch this, you can always tell them that the replay is immediately available after the broadcast. Please make sure to share this episode with anyone you think who would benefit. And if you don't want to miss future episodes or maybe check out the past ones, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Narissa Bauer MD, follow my blog Facebook page, Let's Talk Kids Health, and join my free parenting discussion group. Now, today's topic is about partnering to help students with ADHD in school with special guest Lisa Navarra. Lisa is a behavior specialist, special educator, and published author of children's books, music, and teacher resources. She provides professional development, including social emotional learning and executive functioning training, so students with exceptional needs can learn and teachers can teach, as well as individual services for children and families. Now, Lisa has spoken locally and nationally. Lisa is the host of her own podcast, Student Success Beyond Expectations. She consults students, educators, and families to help turn students' I can't into I can. And I know it's summertime right now, but it's never too early to think about the next school year. So I am so excited to welcome Lisa on the show. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
Yes, I am so excited to have you back. As you know, you were a guest in my Teach Me ADHD community. Really enjoyed our conversation there. So we just had to bring you back.
It was fantastic. I love discussing what we know with one another. Thank
Yes,
you.
I know. I just love the passion. So let's get into it, shall we?
Sure.
Um, you know, as you know, being an educator yourself, seeing things happen in the classroom and also in the administrative leadership roles that you've done in the past, I think it's not a surprise that when COVID hit, we saw kids struggle with remote learning, just, the anxiety of what was happening, but just how important it was, especially for kids with special healthcare needs, kids who think and learn differently, to get those supports. And it was hard for everybody. It was hard for everybody, especially in that early stages where we were just all trying to survive. So I'm just kind of wondering, before we go into like the main questions, like what are you thinking in terms of where we are now? Are you seeing an improvement or a greater awareness about these needs?
It's such a great question because I think we're seeing a broader awareness of prioritizing the mental health of children and the way that they develop. But I'm not just talking about the mental health clinically for
Hmm.
therapy, but the mental health in how they learn and how they socialize and their everyday performance and just being, how that impacts their own self concept. Because as we really, if we can really think about it, when children have a poor self concept, then they really start to lose confidence, and that could trickle down into mental health needs. So, broadly speaking, I think that awareness is finally starting to take a priority in education.
And I love that, especially because I think it is such it's on the minds of, certainly for folks like me and other pediatricians, other people taking care of kids. And, I mean, it's been a tough time for all of us. I think mental health has really risen to the top. And if anything, if there's a silver lining to what's been happening, at least now we're prioritizing talking about it. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So again, I guess when we're talking about this subject area, as you know, my sort of wheelhouse and the kids that I especially love helping are kids with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, anxiety, executive functioning challenge. So I want to ask you, from your perspective, why is it important to teach students executive function and self regulation skills?
It's so funny that you're actually asking me this right now, honestly, because I just posted my first couple of videos on TikTok, and it started out with the importance of knowing what executive functioning is, and as educators, why we need to understand what it is.
Oh,
Yep, it was the first and third one. I mean, really. So it's so important. We should be living and breathing this as in a way that we understand it so we can teach it to children. Because if children cannot self-regulate, they can't manage their thoughts, feelings, or actions. And if they're not able to do that, then it's difficult to stay on task. It's difficult to make and to keep friends. And it's difficult to really feel good about their own actions because they're having difficulty making positive choices during times that they need to.
hmm,
So
yeah.
I could give you
Yeah,
a
no.
couple of examples too.
Yeah, no, please do, because I think, as you were saying this, and I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of a parent watching, how, and maybe educators, right? How can you tell whether it's a child who has something like ADHD or just, a child who this is age appropriate, right?
Exactly. Actually, I have a couple of clients now, and they happen to be teachers. And so, yes. And so, that what they're thinking is, should I be concerned about my child and should I not be? And if there is that thought, then you should at least have a consultation and talk with somebody first of all, because you when you follow your instincts as a parent, I
Yep.
think you get faster results. But essentially speaking, overall with the child, it's always, is there ability or inability or your concerns for your child, are those behaviors impacting their daily function, their daily thinking, their relationships, the way that they communicate, the way that they're able to learn how to, their next step, or maybe their next task, and being able to help themselves if they're young, or that developmental stage. So you want to see what, if your concerns are really inhibiting their development.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, I think that's a nice way for, at least for parents, to judge whether or not to ask, bring this to the attention of a teacher or a doctor. And I always tend to say you've got to trust your mommy or parent radar, right? Because you know your child best, and no concern is too little, right, or too big.
That's right.
That's why we work as a team. And it's important to get the insight from the teacher who's seeing the child in the classroom, but also getting your own insight as a parent, and then talking to the doctor about it. So, yeah. Um, and you're absolutely right. I think all of these things are interrelated. And so if kids are so um, anxious or they're feeling stressed, it does trickle down into how they learn and behave in the classroom.
Absolutely. And with COVID, as you mentioned, all the online learning, and it's very difficult to be able to support your child um, with online learning, especially if they have difficulty with their impulsivity, their difficulty maintaining their attention. You may not have known ways to really help them engage in the process of online learning.
Yeah.
So, some of those behaviors that you're describing, they can also come from just feeling inadequate because they weren't able to learn and they thought everybody else was so much smarter. There's that one child, or it seems like everybody else is answering the question online. And so those were some of the areas too of them feeling academically inadequate.
Yeah. And I had actually I remember a client of mine was having a really tough time with the noise level, on Zoom,
Mhm.
and couldn't concentrate. It was really anxiety provoking to be in this space, new virtual space, and having this feeling of not being able to concentrate or listen because there was just too much going on.
Absolutely. And you don't have the proximity of the teacher to
Hmm.
just kind of walk by, just to remind, oh yes, that's right, I need to focus.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it was lacking a lot. So even as a parent now, when you have a child that you're a little concerned with, or they should they be so excited? Is it kind of over the top? They're running when everybody else is walking. There are climbing on the chair a whole lot more than I think that they should be, or whatever it might be. Using your proximity, breathing and looking at them calmly, being very explicit when you explain to them and you ask them, I need you to get off that chair and I need you to
Mhm.
sit so you're safe. And giving them explicit communication is really key. And then seeing if they are able to follow through, because it is one thing if a child doesn't feel like it and they're behavioral and they decide not to follow through because I don't want to,
Yep.
or if it's okay, I'll listen, I'm sorry, and then 30 seconds later they're back on the chair.
Mhm.
So those are some signs to look for too. Are you asking your child to perform a task and they look sincere and they correct their behavior, but very quickly they're engaging in that same type of behavior?
Yep. Yeah. But you know what I like what you just modeled there, Lisa, was using direct, explicit direction. And I think, especially for kids with ADHD, it's really important to tell them exactly what it is that you want them to do, without like being very vague or, just get started. And then they're like, I don't even know how to get started. Right. So it can be really overwhelming.
Absolutely. And it's really important because what it actually does, not only does it help with the communication of everybody understands the page that they're on, but there's usually a working memory deficit there. And
Hmm.
so that working memory is the nonverbal and verbal part. So your child might, and you could think of yourself too. Your child might think in pictures and they're very visual, or your child might think where they can hear themselves. That's their self talk. So by you being explicit when talking with your child, it gives him an time to build up either that self talk thought of, oh, I need to be sitting, or let me see myself sitting. And so you're
Hmm.
actually supporting that area that's going to help your child remember. And so to make it full circle, it's very helpful to say, okay, now what did I say? What do you need to do? And have your child repeat it. And that's also supporting that same thinking in a picture or hearing the words, which will make it more likely for your child to be able to engage in the appropriate or safe behavior.
Thank you for that tip. That's really great. I like it.
You're welcome.
But yeah, but I would be remiss, because of the work that you've done, not just in the individual classroom, but with your passion to help train up educators and help administrators in these settings to understand and be sensitive to these needs, right? I guess if I could ask you, what are some of the major challenges that still exist in education today?
Well, I do smile at this too because we could talk all night, day, and week about this. So I'm going to streamline it.
Hmm.
And I'm going to streamline it in that it's a little bit of a difficult time when we need to really differentiate what our priority is when one educating students in the classroom and to parenting them to reinforce certain behaviors at home. And so, what I mean by that is, yes, the curriculum and the standards and those expectations are still there. And there are people, talking about closing that gap because that gap even widened between performance and achievement. But it's really prioritizing, okay, how do I and what strategies do I use to help children to be able to focus so that way they feel good about themselves and they're still learning so we can then close that achievement gap.
Hmm.
There's certain
Okay.
ways in which we can do that too. And they're very
Yeah.
specific, but they're easy. They can be used at home and they can be used in school too.
Hmm. And do you see this as a gap then with which, we need to continue to advocate for this? Um, for
Absolutely.
yes,
Yes.
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 Hmm.
Because what we're talking about really is merging psychology and how the brain works with education. And
Hmm.
they are two very different worlds, but they don't need to be. And as educators and parents, we don't need to be afraid of it because we're not talking about sitting down clinically and therapy. We're just talking about strategies, understanding how they help and why they are important for your child.
Yeah. I really love kind of the direction this conversation is going because I think a lot of times for kids with attention difficulties, learning difficulties, parents can sometimes be unsure what types of supports to ask for or advocate for. But I can imagine a world where if everybody at the table, when they're sitting down to talk about individual education plans or 504 plans, where everybody is talking the same language and has concrete skills and
Yes,
strategies to put in place, it would be
yes.
amazing.
It would be off the charts amazing. We would see such progress that we would sit back and say, wow, why didn't we start this earlier? And you said it, Dr. Bauer, concrete strategies. But where that comes from is professional development. We don't know it all. We need to go back into the research, or we need to get professional development from educators who know that research, so that way we can understand it in our own world, and also how and work with individuals who understand what it's like to be a parent, and also really talk to the parent in the same way really that they're talking to the educator, but maybe the examples might be different, right? Because
Hmm.
you're talking about a home environment compared to a classroom environment. However, homework is always one of a hot topic, so
Yes.
it's not that different. In a way it
Yeah.
is, but it's not that different.
Yeah, the setting's a little bit different, but
Yes.
I mean, the consistency is so important across home and school, to shape and support behavior and learning.
And
So,
the common denominator is one word: focus. If we
mhm,
can teach children how to focus, they will be able to learn.
mhm,
So, for example, this year particularly, I really, really focused in on my students and clients. I had them bring their Chromebooks in to the office on how they are engaging and learning online, because there's reading programs, there's math programs. So how do we teach children to engage? Can I show you something? This was totally not planned. So parents
yeah,
out there,
yeah.
I'm telling you right now, this is not planned. So okay, so bear with me for a second. This is so cool. So what I did was I had these visuals, right? And actually, if there's any educators and or parents out there, I'm providing on through Western Suffolk BOCES on July 11th training in this. However, there's visual prompts of action skills. Your children need to know the actions of what they need to engage in at the time they need them. Not you need to focus so that way you can get your work done. It's in front of them. So I
Mhm,
have my students and my clients, they have 10 learning tools. They get to choose which tool is going to help them, let's say, with their online reading program, right? They prop it up so they can see it. One kid said, wow, this really works. I'm like, I know. Oh, great, great, great. So anyway, I saw so there's two parts to this, right? I I saw one of my students who was online, and when she was finished taking the diagnostic test, it had zero progress. Zero
huh,
progress. But when I've been reading with her and I benchmarked her, which means that I saw what level she was reading on,
mhm,
and I saw what she ended on. There was a tremendous amount of progress. And if I remember correctly, she moved up just over a year within 1 year to close that gap for herself. So to tell me you haven't progressed at all online is something missing here. So I said to her, I said, listen, how do you like taking, tests online? And she
mhm,
was honest, because when we as parents and when we as educators really give the kids the language of how to identify how they're feeling and what they need, they'll tell us because they feel
mhm,
safe and
mhm.
understood. And so she goes, well, like one of those. I'm like, what? You don't like it? And so just no. So is it hard for you to focus? And she said, yeah.
Mhm,
So I said, listen, I'm not going to I want to just encourage you because it's a lot. Would you be willing to take the diagnostic test again? And she says, all right, I'll do it again. I said, I'll tell you why. Now, parents, this is what I mean by explaining the why. The why is because I know you've worked so hard, and she has. So let's validate that. And if you work so hard, then let's prove it to ourselves, like herself, that wow, I can do this and I can show progress, because the kids love to see their progress. So anyway, she agreed. And what I noticed was this. I noticed that she was only reading like what was directly eye level with her. She wasn't reading on top. So I had stopped her and I said, point to what you just read. And she did. And she was missing like really what to do with what the text said underneath it. So I said, but you missed this. I said, the tool's not working for you. See,
Mm.
when children understand action skills, they get to transform it into their own world and what is meaningful for them. So, this is, I'm telling you, it was just right. I'm so excited. So, this is what she came up with by herself. Okay. Can you see this okay?
Hold on. I'm going to take myself off for a minute so that you
Okay.
fill the screen. Okay, hold on.
Okay. So, my student created this, and then the other students wanted to copy. So, we made it up ourselves. Now, remember I said she wasn't reading the text above, right? So we gave our arrows to describe that she has to look and read always, every way. She's got to look up, she's got to look down, she's got to read from left to right. Well, let me tell you that the students, I even have a video of her. There's a short version of the video that's going to be uploaded on TikTok too, because she was so excited about how it worked for her that the other kids, she said, I think the other kids could use it. So I mentioned to the other students, would you like to? And they said yes. All right, here's the magic of it. One, she identified how she can help herself with a little bit of foundation of understanding these cognitive skills. She doesn't know the cognitive skills, but they are.
Yep.
And then being able to say, well, this is what I need. Okay, do you know she went up? Remember, she progressed 0, none. And I went off the top. I know my papers are right over there. And with the progress, I think it was around 50% progress compared to 0. You know
Wow.
why? Yes. Yes. Because she was focused.
Huh.
Moms and dads out there, we can employ the skills to help your child self-regulate, to help your child focus. It's not that hard. It's a matter of knowing and consistently practicing and reinforcing with your child. Same thing in the classroom. They excel because they own it. I had one child progress 280%. What? 180%. What?
What?
It's insane. Now I was like, okay, hold on. Maybe there's something wrong with the program. But there were some children who progressed very little. And I'm not surprised based on certain other challenges that they have. It wasn't just focus. So, or the ability to focus. So, what I'm saying is that schools need the concrete strategies to teach educators, service providers, and parents alike to give the children the strategies to be able to perform
In
on
the class.
how to learn, and then
Yep.
they will learn.
Yeah. But what I love about your story is how you engaged her in thinking, how is that, how are you learning? What would make it better? What, and then just gently pointing out to her, oh, you missed that. So how can we remember to look up, down, left, and right?
Yes, yes,
And then keeping it right in front of her that whole time, right? When
yes.
she was
Because
doing.
remember, with executive functioning, as you
Yep.
know, Dr. Bauer, we forget
Yes.
things very quickly,
Yes.
right? So kids need the visual in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not cheating, it's how to learn. Not giving her the answers.
Yep.
It's helping support. Now, think about this. If your child, listen to this, parents, all right? So if your child has a 504 or an IEP, your child has accommodations. And those accommodations, Where do they go when your child is taking an assessment online? Where are they?
Mm-hmm.
They're non-existent. Redirection, maybe. Explaining of directions, unless somebody's sitting right next to your child looking at those directions, and you have a class of maybe 12, 15, 23 kids, how are they getting those directions read to them, revised to them?
Mm-hmm.
Something to really think about. And so, what I'm going to say is they need to learn how to learn through the specific strategies.
Yeah. Wow. I think people are going to be like, I need to learn all those strategies. How do I learn them? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to ask this, okay? Because
Yes.
I think, I think people like, especially educators, I don't, I hats off to them because, I think parents really got a firsthand look as to what educators must manage in the classroom because and we had no idea. We had no idea, okay? And yes, it was a totally different medium, so it was everybody was kind of out of their element. However, educators do one heck of a job. But educators also are like, "Okay, Lisa, I like this idea, but how the heck am I supposed to do this without like feeling like it's another thing to do? I've got all this other stuff that I have to do to
Yeah,
just make my classroom run. I mean,
right,
and then for teachers or for parents too, right? How am I going to help support them when I'm, making dinner and they're having to do homework and not getting these homework battles,
right, right.
right?
Well, there's a few things in that, and that's very, very fair. And you have to understand, we're all on a journey, right? And
Yeah.
so my journey has led me up to really supporting children and parents and educators in this way. And it was out of necessity. So, life's a journey. I was a behavior specialist at the time. They accessed the position, put me back into the classroom,
Yeah.
and they said, you need to teach children special needs 2 years above, which is their grade level. What do you do? I needed something that wasn't another thing because I had been out of the classroom 10 and a half years. Everything was different. Nothing looked the same. Curriculum was different, you name it. So I developed these in a way that I could teach children and survive day to day responsibilities and still have a life because teaching is demanding, parenting is demanding. So these, you know what? They just make sense.
Yeah.
It's like that missing piece. It just makes sense. And then what happens is the behavior management comes right along with it because your child feels so much more understood and in control. Understood and in control. Who needs to act out?
Yeah. Yeah, and that you decrease frustration
That's right.
because they're feeling confident, they're feeling empowered,
That's right.
right? Oh, okay. So you developed these strategies, practical strategies that have been proven to work in the classroom, and you've seen firsthand how kids respond, their self-confidence boom. You've seen the academic indicators, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
change for the
Yes.
better, right? And so I mean, like, where can people find these trainings? Can we clone you? Can we bring you home? I mean, I bet some of the parents are like, Lisa, can you just sit right here with my kid?
I
Uh,
know. I can if you come to the office. We're in New York, but you absolutely are welcome to come here with your child because everything we do is with you and your child. It is
mhm,
not just one, it's you and your child. So, yes, what they could do is they can contact me. Schools can contact me for parent workshops.
uh-huh,
We could do them virtually, we can do them in person. Schools can contact me for professional development. Again, we can work on virtual or we can do it in person. If you are on my learning plan through Western Suffolk BOCES right now, I've got a number of summer programs starting July 11th. That's
mhm,
Tools Inspiring Action. Just put my name in, Lisa Navarro, Western Suffolk BOCES, and you'll see it pop up. Register. You're going to get the tools, the books, the music, everything that comes along. And remember, it's coming from, and I am a parent, And my child has mild ADHD. And I
Mhm.
just found out at 17 years old, believe it or not.
Mhm.
And I have his permission to tell, to even say, because I asked him. And it's very important that you understand that you can be understood too. And
Yeah.
it's not easy to be an educator, it's not easy to be a parent. We are in this together. So when we work collaboratively through child behavior consulting and the resources, you're going to find real um, and practical strategies and resources. And they're available on Teacher Pay Teacher, my website, Amazon.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. So while you people are like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." I'm gonna put up here your Instagram. So Lisa M. Navarra EDU. Your TikTok. Wow, you are hip.
Trying. Anything to get that information out
Ye-
there.
Yes, and it is Lisa M. Navarro without the EDU. And then, of course, your podcast. How long have you been doing your podcast, by the way?
It was just over a year in March.
Wow,
Yes,
congratulations.
yes. Thank
That's
you.
awesome. Yeah, so please people subscribe, follow, listen to that podcast. I mean, if you're like eating this up and like I need to get more of this information, that's how you're going to find her. That's how you're going to get more information. And then I'm also going to share that resource that you had said here. Um, and so tell me, who is this good for? Is this good for educators? Is it good for parents?
Yes. So what I'm writing here is through BOCES.
Uh-huh.
It's typically for anyone who works in a school.
Okay.
But Western Suffolk BOCES happens to be very supportive. So they could also possibly work with the parents, but you could just directly contact me. So if you have other parents or you belong to a SEPTA or a PTA or SEPTA, um, and you have just a small group even of parents and or educators or both, we can just let me know and we will arrange a time that we will meet and I'll provide the training for you directly. So that
Wow.
way, yes, absolutely. I'll send you all the materials and we will work it out.
That's amazing. Be prepared to be busy, Lisa,
Great.
because I feel like a lot of my families that I see and the Teach Me ADHD course, and and in my practice, I hear this all the time. It's like I want to be able to support my child who is struggling with dyslexia or just struggling with math, hates math, doesn't want to do
Right.
it. We're having homework struggles all the time. I mean, I'm feeling like excited for families who are going to be watching this and like, oh my gosh, I need to
Yes.
like jump on the bandwagon and figure out how can I get my hands on this.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's fun. We have fun and it's also skill building for us. And it really gets us to be thinking. It's very interactive too because as we learn, we should be interested. So that way we have specific ways of working with our own children. Same thing with our parent and child workshop too.
So remind us again, the viewers who are watching or listening to this, go tell them to sign up on mylearningplan.com.
Yes, yes. You would have to make an account. If you're an educator and you're in New York, you're already probably on it. If not, you could check it out. Or like I said, it's even easier and when I could work with you more directly, just contact me. You can contact me through Lisa at childbehaviorconsulting.com.
Uh-huh.
And or you could just give me a call and
Okay.
just go to my website. It's all there. Contact me and give me 5 people, give me a little bit of your time, and you're going to get so much of this. You know what? You're going to get to inspiration and you're going to get
Yeah.
your hope back that things are going to be the best way that they can be for your child. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm like, okay, well, we need to bring you here to Indiana then.
I'll come. I'd love it. When am I traveling?
Oh my goodness, this is amazing. Okay, so any last words that you want to share? Can you please tell people about your awesome children's books too? By the way, I'm going to go ahead and
Oh,
I'm going to take myself out of the screen first so we can kind of widen it so you can
sure.
show. Okay, hold on 1 second. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'll take it real quick. All right. So here we have Henry. And Henry in this book has ADHD, and he was always getting in trouble. He was making a mess at home and in school until he met his teacher, Ms. Ravelli, who taught him to believe in himself. So, parents and educators, if you're looking for like a platform to teach students and really understand yourself, like what executive functioning is, what does self regulation look like, these books are going to help you. They're working, they're really working resources because I needed them. I wrote them not because I wanted to be a children's book author, but I needed books to teach children. And so I took my real students at the time and my teacher assistant, and I put in the lessons that I was learning and teaching in these books so that way I could teach children to think positively as a clinician as well as a teacher. And there's Henry helps a friend. Guess what? Henry has his act together now. But he meets Maria, and Maria is a hot mess. Maria, she might be on the spectrum. She's got anxiety. And this is about active listening. And again, you know what's really cool, honestly, is that my students and my clients love Henry. And they say Henry is like them because they just feel understood and they get it. And it just makes sense. And when you see all the pieces come together as an educator and as a behavior specialist, when I work with my clients, it's like so rewarding, right? So even being a parent myself, I know that when my son gets something, he finally gets it, it's I feel accomplished. And I think we all want that when we see children in front of us who are struggling. So that's what these do.
Wow. I can vouch. I've seen the books and they are amazing. And I mean, for those of you who've followed me for a long time, I love the use of children's books with kids and for many, many reasons. But these books you must check out. You must check them out. Um, they are wonderful. I just love your passion and your story behind how you develop these resources, the fact that you're willing to, like, if people are like, hey, I got five either parents or educators, come
Right.
and help us, right? I mean,
Yes.
and you're willing to do that, so
Yes.
that's amazing. Yeah.
We need it. And you know what? Like I said, it's really a paradigm shift from taking psychology into the classroom. So all you need is passion and people. Give us a few people, and when you're committed to children and their well-being, it doesn't matter if it's 1, 5, or 500.
Ugh.
You know I mean it. I love them.
I know, I know, I know. I just hope that the folks who are listening or watching to this can really get that sense of just your commitment to spreading this out there, and we'll go check it out. So that's all I'm saying.
Great. Turn that I
uh,
can't into I can for all of us.
Yes, I know, it's amazing. Well, Lisa, as always, what a treat it was to chat with you again. And I'm serious. I've got to like start working on seeing if we can't get a group together here in Indiana to have you come out. But really, keep up the great work. I can't wait to see what you do in the next coming years, because you've done so much already, and I hope it just keeps spreading. So.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to come on here. It's really an honor. You're doing such wonderful work yourself. And you know, it takes one to know one. You're so passionate yourself, and you're getting this information and your program out there in every which way possible. And that's what we all need. We
Yeah.
need steadfast commitment.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm so grateful to know you and that we're in the same sphere. You're like my people. So,
Yes.
uh,
Yes. Love it.
we'll have to do this again.
Okay. Amen.
All right. So I just want to let you guys know too that next week's guest is Dr. Violino Baccara, who will be talking about partnering with your child's pediatrician. So be sure to tune in next week for that episode. It'll be great. And then also contact me at Dr. Narissa at letstalkkidshealth.org or follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can DM message me. If you have a topic or a speaker you'd like to suggest, let me know. I mean, this whole conversation, this whole show is about let's talk about it. And just like this episode, which I think is fantastic, it hopefully got your wheels turning, hopefully got you thinking, I wonder if we can get Lisa out here because we need to see this change, right? Because with talking and getting everybody at the table, that's how we're going to get change. That's how we're going to get child health, child mental health, child behavioral health, and parental mental health a priority that we're going to start tackling, you know. So, and I do want to just put in a plug. We are in the middle of our current book club, Breaking Free of Child Anxiety and OCD by Dr. Eli Leibovitz. We're reading it over the months of June, July, and August. We are going to have Dr. Leibovitz join us for a virtual book club chat, probably the beginning of September, but we will advertise that final date here soon as we nail that down. But if you have an interest in this, please join, read the book, and join us in those discussions every other week in the parenting discussion group. So again, thank you so much. What a pleasure it was to have you, Lisa, and I hope that people will check you out. And you know what? Like I said, August, September is going to be here before we know it. So we've got to be prepared. So thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.